Hello out there in cryptocurrency land. Welcome back to Real Crypto, where we take the markets one leg at a time while keeping the market cycle in mind. And we're going to go right into it today and talk about some lovely market action, if you want to call it that. So Bitcoin and pretty much the entire cryptocurrency market just had a big downside reaction. We finally did resolve this large pattern here. I got two red lines on my chart. This one's actually the bottom line of my descending triangle, and this is the current Bitcoin price. So if you see two red lines there, that's why. Actually, you know what, I can do that for you guys. So that's my line right there for the 9100 level. We broke through that. We were talking about this in the power hour today, and the definitive break of 91, and it came. We got the definitive break of 91. Unfortunately, I was hoping we were going to turn around and hold this, as we were able to hold higher up here, but not really so much. The bears kind of showing too much strength. And what we were talking about today is things breaking down in the market and what was breaking down first, and kind of what we discussed today. We went in depth a little bit into kind of the altcoins and what was leading when, and maybe what to look out for. We were talking today about look for what broke down first. So if you were kind of caught off guard by this and maybe not watching the markets, next time we get to one of these equilibrium points, and they come fairly often, I guess often enough if you're involved in the markets. So there's an equilibrium point here, there's one right here, there's one right here. So there's three right there within the past year. Not every day, but often enough where you should kind of start to look for those things, and you really have to form some kind of a trading strategy around that. If you're not forming strategies ahead of the move, you're being very reactionary. And as a trader, one thing you don't want to be is reactionary. You want to have a plan set up ahead of time. You want to say, okay, I want to buy if it hits here and sell if it hits here. We had a pretty wide range here at the Real Crypto community. We had the 9100 was our sell level on Coinbase, and the 10950 was our buy level. Unfortunately, we never got too close to our buy level. We never really did this. This line held us down here, and really yesterday was the first day we were like, okay, maybe this thing could break down. And then when we talked this morning, it was like, okay, it's a little bit more real. We'll see if we can rebound, because the price action was looking bad. And as we ended the 9 o'clock hour here, which is when we do the power hour, we were saying this candle not looking so good. One of our members out there actually has been shorting this thing for a little bit. He did very well in this sell-off, and I'm not sure if he's covering positions. I don't think he is, actually, but this is a sell-off. This is a trend break. This changes the course of things. So a couple times ago talked about a larger bull run. My last video talked about the bigger picture, and the bigger picture was, well, everything, you want everything to go up, but you have to be prepared for the opposite. In this situation, we got routed to the downside. So we talk about high volume breakouts and high volume causing tops, bottoms, and breakouts, and we talk about that consistently. And there you go. There's definitely a volume change. That is a change in trend. This trend should move us lower. How much lower? I do have a loose measured move based off of this descending triangle to about, believe it or not, $4,800. That's what the chart says here. We got other people with lower targets. I'm not even sure if I believe $4,800, but I've listened to the charts in the past and done videos on them, and it's done me pretty well. So I'm going to stick with the analysis that I get from the charts. And that points us, down here to 4,800. The reason why you take a measured move like this, and if this looks odd, it's because I'm on a logarithmic scale. What I did is I basically took the height from the top of the descending wedge into the flat part of the descending wedge, and you move that lower. And from there you can infer a target. And that's where it takes us to, if I can get it right on the line there. Sometimes you're a little bit off, and these bottoms are never exactly precise, so you don't be too worried about a couple $100. But about the 5,000 level, 4,900 level is kind of what it's looking like here. It doesn't have to get there, but that is obviously a much lower target and a much larger move lower in Bitcoin. So this does definitely change the trend in Bitcoin, and I don't know if I'd be looking for this to bounce back immediately. This should move lower. I'm not sure about quickly. It definitely could move quickly. This was an extreme move to the downside. Let's take a look at some of the altcoins and kind of just get a feel around the market. And we were doing this earlier today about this thing feels really bearish right now, and we end up with this huge break. So let's start at the top here. Ethereum. So Ethereum, we pretty much, we found this thing a nice reversal pattern up here, and the buying just stopped. The buying just stopped. Could they have bought this up to sell it off immediately over here? Anything's possible. I can't really discount that. But if you look at the amount of volume here and where it comes in, which is, right up here above this 190 level, all the way up to here, there's some distribution up here, obviously, but I don't know. Maybe they broke even on this particular transaction because it doesn't seem like it dropped far enough for them to cover their initial cost of entry, and or maybe they just took advantage of the market rally. I'm not quite sure which, but regardless, Ethereum, a very big reversal move here out of what was looking fairly bullish. Go to my other Ethereum chart here. This is what we had. We had a declining wedge with a very large potential run, and we emphasize potential in the power hour over here. Up to about the 450 level. Obviously didn't work out. It was looking pretty good until it just stalled out and did nothing. Right up here. Some people stopped out up here. I got stopped out a little bit lower, trying to give it some space. Talked about a head and shoulders pattern up here. There's a shoulder, there's a head, maybe a shoulder. Never really got a shoulder. I don't know if I'd consider this a shoulder right there. But regardless, it broke down yesterday and hasn't stopped since, culminating in a very large candle. Could that be considered a capitulation candle? You could call it a capitulation candle. It wouldn't be like textbook definition capitulation, because if you look on the daily chart, and the day's going to close in 15 minutes, so this candle here is basically printed. This would feel like capitulation volume. This would also maybe feel like capitulation volume, but everyone's kind of focused on capitulation, so I figured I'd bring it up. But Ethereum here doesn't really have capitulation on the chart. Not really, not at any low level. It's just anywhere on the chart. So no, I would not call that a capitulation candle, but could that put a short-term bottom in? Absolutely. But a clear breakdown from this low would not be good, and that would lead us into much further prices in Ethereum. XRP was pretty bullish the other day here. We watched it break out. Let me go back down to the 2-hour time frame there. We watched it kind of break out right there. Symmetrical triangle, broke out, rallied with the market. Tried here again yesterday, and then just rolled right over and failed. So even this buying, this would probably be people trying to prop up the price to kind of get filled higher, but that probably went awry for them as well. Litecoin really didn't stand a chance, to be honest with you. We were hoping it was going to get bullish, but we didn't rally very far off of this trend line. Volume was okay. And then with that move yesterday, we were talking today, Litecoin basically starting the breakdown in the market. If you weren't paying attention to the things that were leading this market on the run up, which were Litecoin and EOS, and we'll look at EOS in a minute, then you missed the picture. You kind of missed the picture of the market taking chunks out and breaking down. And that's what we do in the power hour every day, is we go through all of these charts and try to assimilate a larger picture. Wasn't quite expecting a drop of this magnitude, especially with a lot of the altcoins, but hey, a drop is a drop is a drop. So it either stops you out and you get exited out of your position, or you enter a short and it gets you into a position. And regardless of the scale of the move, what you do is you analyze, and then you plan, and then you act. Okay, it's not analysis and then straight action. All right? You do analysis, you plan, and then you act. So regardless of the scale of the move lower, everyone that did short up here is going to think they're a genius. But what they're not going to tell you is that they probably shorted here and maybe shorted here as well. So anyway, the main point is that you can't just act based on analysis. You have to have a plan that goes according. You have to make a plan according to that analysis, and then act appropriately. Otherwise, you're just freewheeling and guessing there. So Litecoin, obviously an early leader, rallied 500% off the lows, ridiculous move, and has been very weak ever since. So you can see this action, the bounce out of this descending triangle, or falling wedge, excuse me, the bounce out of this falling wedge, not getting very far, and on not a tremendous amount of volume. With a breakout such as this, you should have seen more volume here. It was starting to get good, and then it stalled out, very similar to what Ethereum did. Very, very similar to what Ethereum did. And then the last one, I'm not going to keep you guys too long here. The last one is EOS. So EOS and Litecoin. EOS was much more telegraphed, and when you see it, it's going to scream out like nothing. And we I actually called this as a short in the chat room. And that doesn't have it. Okay, I must have deleted my line. So what we had was a head and shoulders pattern. Pretty clear. Very clear head and shoulders pattern. We had a neckline. Broke the neckline very definitively. And we had a target which was ultimately just destroyed. And that target moving much, much lower. So there was our target right down there at 3.4 and you're at 2.8. So destroying that target with an ultimate 37% roughly to the very peak of the bottom. You're never gonna sell there, but yeah, that right there, that breakdown of the head and shoulders pattern probably should have got me a little bit more bearish. I mean, we talked about this in detail for the past couple of days. Personally, I wasn't as bearish probably as I should have been for this particular drop, but EOS was a very clear signal. And with Litecoin and EOS running the market, or I should say leading the market, and when they start to break down, that's when things can get hairy. You got to pay attention to the leaders, ladies and gentlemen. If you aren't familiar with identifying leadership, and if you're not familiar with how to do that, I really suggest joining the Power Hour, to be honest with you, because that's what we cover. We look for the leaders on the market, what's running the cycles, and if you can identify that, you can do pretty good. You can start to identify the trends and see turnaround points and things of that nature. So, all right, guys, there you go. Big breakdown in BTC and the rest of the market. This pretty much destroys all the altcoins at this point in time, and we're going to have a really fun show tomorrow, kind of seeing what altcoins are still alive and which ones are just dead. Most of them are dead. Some of them are probably still going to be somewhat salvageable, but I don't even know if it's worth salvaging at this stage of the game. So BTC breaking trend, firmly going lower. This pulls us back into easily correction mode, if not bear market territory again. With that in mind, we'll have to see how the next few weeks, maybe months go as Bitcoin is getting more mature. You see these cycles take longer and longer to play out. We had, this is a 6-month cycle. This one here is about a 3-month cycle. This one here is about a 3-month cycle. So by the time you get these large changes in trend and direction, generally they won't reverse on you immediately, especially on a volume candle such as that. So for those of you looking for a bounce, you may never get it. You may never get it, and you're just going to have to deal with that reality. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you like my message, and feel free to check out my website, real-crypto.com. And if you want to check out that Power Hour, go to my services page, and there's some more information right there. Just so you guys know, with the Power Hour, you do get an alert system that we have, which won't be working very well probably for the next week as the markets drop. And we also do a newsletter every day. So check that out, guys. I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.